Part 29. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 281. Overall, this is clearly a stunning lady. And at this moment, facing Suliang's question, the stunning lady opened her lips lightly, and her voice was as cold as her image. I am Jingmeng, the head of Taixuan section. I am here for this trip. Come to kill the witch behind you. Although I don't know who you are, since this matter has nothing to do with you, please step aside. Otherwise, don't blame me for implicating innocent people. Hearing this, Suliang raised his eyebrows. What the hell, you came to kill my woman, but you still ask me to get out of the way. What's the point? Then Suliang immediately responded, oh, if you want to seduce Wanyu, you should get through me first. Just in time, let me experience how powerful you, the head of Taixuan sect, are. As Suliang finished speaking, the atmosphere in the palace suddenly turned cold. Volume 1 Chapter 257, Frightening Dream, Milky Sword. You can't stop me. Jingmeng shook her head. Perhaps in her eyes, Suliang was indeed an outsider and was not on her list to be killed. That's why she was willing to say a few more words to Suliang. I will tell you the last thing once again, get out of the way. In response to Jingmeng's warning, Suliang said 3 words clearly, impossible. That's fine. Jingmeng shook her head, but suddenly stretched out her right hand and held it on her chest. In that case, don't blame me for the killer. Say it. A dazzling light suddenly emerged from Jingmeng's body. Immediately afterwards, under the shocked gazes of Suliang and Qin Wanyu, a sword hilt suddenly appeared in Jingmeng's hand. The hilt of the sword was long and narrow, extending all the way down to her proud peak, and then disappeared. It made people wonder where the sword was hidden. Next moment, Jingmeng raised her head, her feet were slightly off the ground, and her whole body seemed to be floating. Her right hand grasped the hilt of the sword on the proud peak, and slowly pulled it up. Then, there was a long sword. Was pulled out from her proud peak. Base. A crisp sword cry rang out. Jingmeng drew the sword from her chest, but it passed in front of her, pointed downwards, and drew a line of amazing sword energy. The scattered true energy flew around her, looking stunning. With extreme might. Seeing this familiar scene, Suliang took a breath of air. Draw the sword from your chest, and use the milky sword? It should be said, aside from the terrifying dream of killing his woman, Suliang felt that the sword was quite interesting. Scabbard, humanoid scabbard. And just when Suliang was still admiring this milky sword, Jingmeng suddenly raised his hand and held the sword high, and then slowly retracted it. His right hand holding the sword hilt extended to the left side of his body, with the blade pointing upward and the sword body flush with his arm. Next moment. Base. Cut it out with one sword. Moment. An extremely powerful sword energy shot out vertically and horizontally, as if to tear the space in front of Jingmeng. The sword energy carried the sharp and boundless sword intent and slashed towards Qin Wanyu. The speed was extremely fast, almost in the blink of an eye. Arrived in front of me. If she were struck by this sword, even if Qin Wanyu had a lot of cultivation, she would probably end up being torn apart by the sword energy. Qin Wanyu is in danger. See this. Suliang hurriedly came to his senses. Lei Zhang was in his hand, and he quickly moved sideways to block Qin Wanyu. Then, without even having a chance to strike with his sword, he was already facing the sword energy that had arrived in front of him. He had no choice but to block with his sword horizontally and pour his true energy into the sword's edge. When there was a sound of metal and metal clashing. Amidst the sword energy and the flash of lightning, the Lei Zhang in Suliang's hand firmly held Jingmeng's milky sword. However, Suliang took this sword very hard and reluctantly. With his hands firmly pressed against the sword, Suliang felt that an extremely powerful force was constantly impacting him on the sword. This force had almost exceeded the limit of what Suliang could withstand. Several times, he was struck by the sword. Detachment. Clenching his teeth, Suliang's eyes were slightly red, and he desperately resisted this powerful and almost irresistible force. Finally, after an unknown amount of time, as the sword energy disappeared, Suliang staggered and almost fell to his knees. After all, he barely resisted this sword. Shaking his head and letting Qin Wanyu continue to hide behind him, Suliang raised his head and looked at Jingmeng in front of him, with some shock in his eyes. This woman's fighting power is really terrifying. It was just one sword strike, and Suliang already felt that he could barely resist it. If there was another strike, Suliang really didn't know if he could still block it. You actually blocked it? Seeing Suliang block the sword, Jingmen's expression did not change at all, so he raised the blade in his hand and planned to hit Suliang again. I want to see if you can still block this sword. Say it. Strike out with one sword again. See this. Suliang gritted his teeth, straightened up the thunder zodiac in his hand, and went to meet him. Regardless of whether he can block it or not, in short, it is impossible to kill Wanyu in front of him. And at this critical moment, Wan Qing's figure suddenly appeared in front of Suliang, and just stretched out his hand to block the sword. Break. With a soft drink, Wan Qing broke the sword energy with one hand and was not injured at all. Immediately afterwards, ignoring her apprentice, Wan Qing looked at Jingmeng in confusion. Who are you? Why did you use my friend's trick? At this point, Wan Qing just raised her head and saw Jingmeng's face clearly, and her voice suddenly became stagnant. At the same time, Jingmeng, who came to attack, fell into a sluggish state after seeing Wan Qing. After a while, Wan Qing finally came to her senses and exclaimed, Meng Meng. At almost the same time, Jingmeng and Wan Qing said together, Sister Wan Qing. Seeing the performance of these two people, Suliang was slightly surprised. This is the feeling of meeting old friends again? Just when Suliang was confused, Jingmeng took the initiative to put away the sword, and her cold and stunning face instantly changed into a silly expression. Walking forward a few steps, Jingmeng blinked cutely, Sister Wanqing, why are you here? See this. The corner of Suliang's mouth twitched slightly. For some reason, he seemed to have a sense of déjà vu when he saw his girlfriend. But no matter what, this battle seems to have calmed down for the time being. And this time, Wan Qing came to Suliang and Qin Wanyu with a startling dream, and happily told about the past between them. Come on, good disciple, let me introduce to you, this person is my best friend when I was young. What a shocking dream. At that time, I was traveling as a teacher, and when I encountered a dream, we traveled together. Now that I think about it, I was really happy at that time. It turns out he is Master's friend. Suliang laughed twice. His master's friend wanted to kill his own woman. What's going on? Next. After talking about the past, Wan Qing hugged Jingmeng directly. The next moment, she pressed Suliang's little head, suffocating herself in her proud peak, and gave Jingmeng a chest tightness. Xiao Mengmeng, I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect to see you here. My sister is so happy. Sister Wanqing. Jingmeng said in a dull voice, not even bothering to hug Wan Qing with her backhand. Her two little hands were struggling up and down. She was obviously a stunning lady, but now she looked very cute and cute. Looking at this scene, Suliang smiled unconsciously. The close contact between two stunning ladies is so pleasing to the eye. After a moment of commotion, Wan Qing finally let go of Jingmeng, and Suliang got the chance and asked curiously, Master Jingmeng, may I ask why you took action against Wanyu? Logically speaking, Wanyu should have no enmity or grudge against you, right? It stands to reason that it is. Jingmen nodded, but she is not an innocent person. Hearing this, Suliang turned to look at Qin Wanyu, and he immediately had doubts in his heart. Isn't my woman an innocent person? What exactly is going on? Volume 1 # Chapter 258 The Queen Mother takes the initiative to apologize. Please ask Master Jingmen to explain in detail. Suliang bowed to Jingmen respectfully. After all, he was the one asking for help now, and he was his master's friend, so this gesture was necessary. Jingmen nodded and explained to Suliang, in the world of immortality, there is a sect called Yin-Yang Dao section. Even though they knew that the world of immortality had an order prohibiting involvement in the secular world, they still made many plans and attempted to manipulating secular dynasties. And the way the Yin-Yang Dao sect manipulates the dynasty is to become the concubine or queen mother of a top dynasty. After the old emperor dies, she either ascends the throne in person or controls the puppet new emperor, holding the entire dynasty in her hands. But the true purpose of Yin-Yang Dao section, I have investigated it for a long time, but it is still unknown. It is still a mystery. At this point, Jingmen pointed at Qin Wanyu and said, and the queen mother of the great Xia dynasty, Qin Wanyu, seems to be a member of the Yin-Yang Dao sect. In the past few days, I have investigated her in many ways, and I am very sure that there are great clues about her background, and I have basically determined the sect she belongs to. Otherwise, how could I kill her? With these words, Qin Wanyu's background was completely revealed. After hearing this, Suliang subconsciously looked at Qin Wanyu again with doubts in his eyes. His master had obtained information before, and Suliang actually knew that there should be a considerable force behind Qin Wanyu. But he really didn't expect that behind his woman, there was a large sect that constantly intervened in the secular world and manipulated the dynasty to complete his unspeakable plans. Isn't this a little too exciting? After hearing Jingmen's words, Qin Wanyu subconsciously took a step back, and her face turned pale instantly. She really didn't expect that her true background would be exposed like this. In her original plan, while fooling the sect and Dong Jun, she would get along happily with her king in Daxia as the queen mother. Wouldn't this be good? Although I am indeed a member of the Yin-Yang Dao sect, ever since I got together with the king, I have really been focused on the king and have never harmed the interests of the king or even Daxia. But even so, Qin Wanyu also knew that she had been hiding and deceiving the king. This in itself was enough to trigger a crisis of trust between the two of them. So, my villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 282. It's better to confess to the king. It's better to confess than to be forced to find out by the king. Thinking in her mind, facing Suliang's doubtful gaze, Qin Wanyu bit her red lips lightly, and finally gathered up the courage to confess. But right now, a figure in a gorgeous robe suddenly appeared and spoke majestically, "That's enough." As soon as these words came out, the eyes of everyone present were immediately attracted. I saw. A figure hidden under a robe suddenly appeared not far from everyone. Just from the appearance, this figure looks like a man or a woman, and there is no depth to it, but under the hood of his gorgeous robe, there is a pair of eyes, exuding red gold brilliance, which looks quite extraordinary and eye-catching. The moment she saw this figure, Qin Wanyu couldn't help but exclaimed, "Sect Master! Metropolitan!" Hearing this title, Jingmen was startled, but then he immediately reacted and asked, "Are you the master of Yin-Yang Dao sect, Dong Huang?" "It's me." Dong Huang, the mysterious man in colorful robes, nodded, and then his red gold eyes looked towards Jingmen and Wanking. Moment. An indescribable and powerful pressure swept across the entire venue, pressing towards Suliang and others. See this. Wanqing and Jingmen were also unwilling to be outdone. They released their own pressure at the same time and resisted Donghuang's pressure. Moment. In the small courtyard, the three parties were confronting each other. The pressure from the three top powers actually made the surrounding houses creak. Suliang and Qin Wanyu were almost unable to breathe. However, Dong Huang suddenly withdrew his pressure, chuckled twice, and took the initiative to express his goodwill. I promise that I can stop my hand and no longer attempt to control Daxia. Hearing this, Wan Qing raised her eyebrows and said, "You do have some self-awareness. You know that with the two of us here, you will definitely not be able to succeed. I am not afraid of you." Dong Huang shook his head. "Master Fukang Dao Wan Qing, and Master Tai Xianjing Meng, even if you two go together, it will not be easy to defeat me." After saying this, Wan Qing and Jing Meng did not refute anything. After all, Dong Huang is just a phantom at this moment. It is not easy to release some pressure. Fight. It's simply impossible. Immediately afterwards, Dong Huang continued, "Back to the topic, I can stop, but there is one condition. Since that boy can make Qin Wanyu follow him wholeheartedly, then let him and Qin Wanyu come to our Yin Yang Dao sect." "Say it." The phantom of Dong Huang completely dissipated and disappeared without a trace. Wan Qing, Suliang, and Qin Wanyu looked at each other in confusion. For a moment, they couldn't guess Dong Huang's purpose. They just felt that this condition was a bit unclear. But now the phantom of Dong Huang has dispersed, but they are unable to question Dong Huang and obtain evidence of his purpose. After a moment of silence, Suliang said to his master, "Since master is happy to meet an old friend, I will not disturb him to reminisce about old times." "Say it." Suliang pulled up Qin Wanyu's sleeves and took Qin Wanyu away alone. In another room, Suliang sat on the chair with a cold look on his face, looking at Qin Wanyu in front of him. At this moment, he seemed to be extremely angry because of Qin Wanyu's concealment. Facing Suliang like this, Qin Wanyu was silent for a moment, but suddenly she knelt down, her eyes were red, and she began to apologize stammeringly, "Husband, I know that I have concealed such an important thing from you. Husband, you must very angry. I know I was wrong. No matter how my husband punishes me, I have no complaints. I just ask my husband to let me stay with him, even if I am just a maid serving tea and water. I am also satisfied. Husband, please, don't drive me away." Faced with Qin Wanyu's pitiful look, Suliang didn't have the slightest thought of pity. Instead, he was as cold as before, and his voice was extremely cold. "Oh, if you conceal the truth, you should accept the family law. No matter what the family law is, I am willing to accept it. I just ask my husband not to drive me away." Listening to Suliang's words and feeling Suliang's coldness, Qin Wanyu felt a little panicked. At this moment, she would agree to whatever Suliang wanted, for fear that Suliang would stop wanting her. After all, Qin Wanyu knew very well that this incident was indeed her fault. "It was me who betrayed the king's trust." In the room, snapped. A crisp sound suddenly sounded, followed immediately by a muffled groan that suppressed his own pain. "Well." Qin Wanyu lay on the ground, clenching her tender white skin tightly, with a hint of red on her cheeks, her eyes blurred, biting her red lips, and at this moment, she was undergoing Suli's whipping. But for Qin Wanyu, at this moment, she had no regrets after being punished like this by Suliang, and she was even a little happy in her heart. She knew very well that since her king was still willing to punish herself, it was because he still had her in his heart, and he just wanted to punish her for concealing and deceiving her. If the king really gives up on himself. So, now I should have left this mansion long ago. Even if I want to be beaten a few more times, it is just a luxury." Holding the whip in his hand, Suliang struck Qin Wanyu once and then again. His face was as cold as before, and the whip hit her hard. But, in fact, Suliang really didn't use too much effort. After all, he was just punishing his own woman so that she would not cheat again in the future. He didn't really want to do anything to her, so why was he willing to use force? It was just a pretense. Why bother to really hit her? It made me feel bad. So. At this moment, Qin Wanyu was groaning under Suliang's whipping, but she did not dare to say anything. The clothes on her body were all broken, and the white and smooth delicate body in the clothes was revealed in bits and pieces. Coupled with Qin Wanyu's rosy cheeks, misty eyes, teeth biting her lower lip, and weak movements when she looked at Suliang, she had an indescribable charm at this moment. Well. With a sigh, Suliang threw the whip aside, walked to Qin Wanyu, knelt down, held Qin Wanyu in his arms, and asked pitifully, "Wanyu, does it hurt?" "The pain is definitely a bit painful, but as long as my husband can stop being angry with me, I will be satisfied." However, Suliang took off his clothes, covered Qin Wanyu's soft and delicate body, and kissed her tenderly on the forehead, and then said, How can I bear to be angry with you? This punishment is just to make you understand one thing. If you know it hurts, don't hide it, you know? I trust you wholeheartedly and I have no secrets from you. Why, am I still not worthy of your trust? No, no. I trust my husband the most. Hearing Suliang's words, Qin Wanyu couldn't bear it any longer. She felt moved and guilty at the same time. Tears flowed out and wet her clothes. She hugged Suliang tightly with her backhand. "Husband, I know I was wrong. I will never do this again from now on, I will never hide anything from my husband again." Suliang himself didn't expect that his words would inadvertently win back the beauty's heart. At this moment, Qin Wanyu felt that the sudden appearance of Jing Meng might be a good thing. Because, from then on, there were no secrets between her and her king, and she felt much more relaxed in her heart. In the courtyard, Suliang, Qin Binjao, Tan Kinja, and others gathered together and were discussing whether Suliang should go to Yin Yang Dao sect. The Yin Yang Dao sect has always been secretive. Even I haven't had much contact with them. In my opinion, my good disciple, you'd better not go. Wan Qing thought for a moment and then said. As the Taoist master of the Shang zone, with advanced cultivation and ridiculously high status, he naturally knows that he has seen things that others have never seen. Therefore, Wan Qing's advice is the most meaningful. After hearing Wan Qing's words, Tan Kinja nodded again and again. "Auntie is right, Yin Yang Dao zone is nothing. How can you go just because they let you? No matter what, we will accompany you to Fukang Dao zone, Yin Yang Dao zone. No matter how domineering the people of the sect are, they wouldn't dare to break into Fukang Dao sect to ask for someone, right?" Yang Kaoch frowned slightly. "Mr. Lang, don't worry. Although our Daxia is only a secular dynasty, it is more than enough to protect you and your mother. As long as you say you don't want to go, no one can take you away." Even Qin Wanyu said weakly, "It is up to you, my husband, to decide whether you want to go or not. I will listen to you." But while the girls were all putting forward their own suggestions, Suliang and Qin Binjao remained silent. Turning her head to look at her man, Qin Binjao suddenly realized her man's true thoughts when she saw his concentrating and silent expression. "Suliang, have you already made up your mind and plan to go to Yin Yang Dao sect?" As soon as these words came out, everyone else shut up and looked at Suliang. Suliang was stunned for a moment, then raised his head to look at his girlfriend, smiled and nodded. "Binjao is indeed the person who knows me best. I do mean this." Just by saying this, Qin Binjao, as the person who knows Suliang best, is already better than all the other women. Listening to Suliang's words, it is obvious that Suliang has agreed to Dong Huang and plans to go to Yin Yang Dao sect to find out what's going on. "Come on, Meng Meng, don't be polite. Just eat these. My good disciple made them." At the dinner table, Wan Qing pointed to the table full of dishes in front of her, with a look of 40% pride and 60% show-off on her face as she spoke to her friend. "I haven't seen my friend for many years, and now I happen to meet him, so I naturally have to make good arrangements and entertain him with a banquet, which can be regarded as a celebration of meeting my friend. During this dinner, Wan Qing naturally praised her apprentice, Meng Meng. Let me tell you, my good apprentice is not only a good cook, but also extremely talented. I only taught him for a few months. He has now reached the 9th level of dragon transformation, and can break through and live forever at any time. Not only that, my good disciple, my talent and understanding are far beyond the reach of others. I have some of the most difficult and top-notch techniques in Fukang Taoist section. Others will not be able to comprehend even half of them in their lifetime, and they may even harm themselves. My disciple, however, realized the truth in an instant. Not to mention the strength of my disciple. You have fought against him, so you must have experienced it firsthand. Listening to Wan Qing's words showing off her apprentice, Jingmeng put on an awkward expression, without any ripples in her voice. Sister Wan Qing, my apprentice is not bad either. Yet. Wan Qing raised her eyebrows. In that case, why don't you bring it over someday and let's compare? Okay. Jingmeng nodded, and in a few words, the two of them made clear arrangements for their respective apprentices. The two of them were chatting, eating delicacies and drinking fine wine. After a while, Jingmeng turned out to be a little drunk. At this time, Jingmeng's three faceless men finally couldn't hold on any longer. Instead, their eyes were blurred, their big cute eyes widened, and with a silly look, she began to tell stories about when she and Wan Qing were young. It's a wonderful time to travel around the world. But this so-called good time. But it made Suliang and others feel more or less outrageous. Volume 1 #picture 259 Girl, wake up, master is a bad woman. I still remember that time. Although my cultivation was indeed good in the sect, master just wouldn't allow me to go down the mountain. No matter how much I asked, it was useless. There was a look of nostalgia in Jingmeng's eyes, and she began to recall and tell, but that night, the eldest sister suddenly sneaked into the sect secretly, and happened to meet me who wanted to go back to rest after the training. A few words, which made me determined to go with my eldest sister. Let me think about what the first few words of the eldest sister said. Ah, that's right. The eldest sister said at that time, don't you want to be trapped in the sect all your life doing nothing? Don't you want to see the vastness of this world? Do you think what the master said must be correct? Thinking about it now, what the eldest sister said at that time still made my blood boil. That is to say, the eldest sister's hand was too strong, and the knife that knocked me out made me unconscious for 3 days. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been able to follow the eldest sister. Hiss. Hearing this, Suliang and Tan Qinjia took a deep breath. They thought that Wan Qing and Jingmeng just met on the road and went together, but they didn't expect that Jingmeng was completely abducted by Wan Qing. Moreover, if abduction doesn't work, just do it directly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 283. This is the beginning of something crazy. Immediately afterwards, Jingmeng continued with a feeling of nostalgia. Ah, I really miss the time when the eldest sister taught me how to practice. What was thrown into the rapid water and I had to swim out on my own, and what was thrown into let me survive for a month in a forest full of ferocious beasts. Also, one time, there was a very ferocious beast next to a magical elixir that was useful for my eldest sister. Originally, the eldest sister could only enjoy the benefits of fighting ferocious beasts and being strong, but in order to train me, she gave up this opportunity to me. Hearing this, Suliang and Tan Qinjia were even more confused. What kind of method does Wan Qing use to train his cultivation? Isn't this a waste of human life? And the thing about the ferocious beast, it's obviously just taking advantage of you, right? Girl, can you wake up a little? There's nothing to remember? As if unaware of the emotional changes of Suliang and Tan Kinja, Jingmeng continued with an admiring look on her face. The eldest sister is so powerful. She knows everything, and has strong cultivation. That's why she asked me to hunt for her rice. Fighting the ferocious beast is just to train me. Also, several times I encountered sleeping beasts and carefully picked up the elixir to wake them up. It was my eldest sister who saved me. It's just that I still haven't figured it out. The beast was sleeping soundly, but who was the unscrupulous person who threw the knife at the beast's butt? It's so annoying. Girl, have you ever thought that the fact that she asked you to cook, hunt, and pick elixirs for her was because she was too lazy to do it herself? Also, since the beast has woken up many times, you have never thought that the person who threw the knife is your eldest sister? After hearing this, Suliang and Tan Kinja couldn't stand listening at all. Jingmeng, this is too miserable. If you think carefully about what Wan Qing did to Jingmeng, they are all so evil. This is clearly the process of abducting and selling beautiful girls. Not only did they sell you, but you also helped them count their money. Is Wan Qing too awesome, or are you too stupid? Girl, can you wake up a little? Unlike Suliang and Tan Kinja, Qin Binjao on the side listened to these contents and felt a vague sense of resonance for some reason. Why do these experiences of Senior Jingmeng feel familiar to me? And this time, Jingmeng also looked at Qin Binjao, their eyes met, and instantly, they saw each other. Little girl, you are very good. I like you very much. Jingmeng nodded drunkenly, not even knowing what he was talking about. Me too. Qin Binjao said happily, I always feel that Senior Jingmeng is very kind. Obviously, at this moment, the two of them actually admire each other a little bit. Looking at this scene, Tan Kinja suddenly felt a sense of crisis in her heart, and her gaze towards Jingmeng became more and more eager. This rhythm, is his apprentice about to be abducted by others? How can this be allowed? Jingmeng, you dare to steal my apprenticeship, even if you are my aunt's friend, come and fight. I, Tan Kinja, am not afraid of you. For a while. At the banquet, everyone was chatting and laughing, and there was a very warm and pleasant atmosphere. In the room. I have never been to the Yin Yang Dao sect, so I don't know what the situation is like there. In short, you must bring enough clothes. As Tan Kinja spoke, she was preparing to salute Suliang, with a gentle look. After all, Lei Zhang is a sacred object and cannot be exposed at will. Although your cultivation is considered a master, but you dare to covet a sacred object. You are not an idle person. If a conflict arises because of this, you will inevitably fall into a passive position. So, you still need to wear other swords, guns, swords, halberds, axes, hooks and forks. Also, it's a long journey, so you always have to bring some food. You don't like to eat dry food, so I made some for you that can be preserved, which is enough for you to eat along the way. While talking, Tan Kinja stuffed various things into Suliang's gift. She looked like a virtuous wife preparing a gift for her husband who was about to leave. Seeing Tan Kinja like this, Suliang pursed his lips lightly and was deeply moved. Although all this is dull, it is only in this dullness that the true feelings can be seen. Taking a step forward, Suliang couldn't help but hug Tan Kinja from behind, hugged her into his arms, leaned into her ear, and whispered, "Sister is the best to me, I like her so much, what should I do?" "Well, sister is like this, I am a little reluctant to leave. I promise my sister that as long as the Yin Yang Dao sect incident is over, I will come back as soon as possible to find my sister. How about it?" However, faced with Suliang's hug and sweet words of love, Tan Kinja's rare body stiffened and she refused to look back. Feeling the stiff body in his arms, Suliang blinked in confusion, not knowing what was going on. Is it possible that my sister is crying because she can't bear to leave her? Well, it's not impossible. After all, I am a little reluctant to leave my sister now. Thinking in his mind, Suliang let go of his hand and moved closer to Tan Kinja's face, intending to find out. But I didn't expect it. Not only did Tan Kinja not cry, but she looked at herself with a charming face. Seeing Suliang turn his head, Tan Kinja's fragrant tongue licked his red lips, his brows were full of spring, and a charming smile appeared on his face. His voice was also extremely soft. I don't know if Liang can come back early, sister, I know. But, before Liang leaves, you must feed your sister. Otherwise, your sister will really cry. The words have fallen. Volume 1 Chapter 260, Let's all come together? The illusory world of yin and yang, full of everything. Before Suliang could react, Tan Qingye pointed at Suliang's chest and pushed Suliang down on the bed with a little force. Immediately afterwards, the beauty's blouse was lightly untied, and she leaned forward, feeling the spring dewdrops. It was very narrow at first, but soon, the movement in the room gradually became louder. Lang Jun, are you in there? Yang Kao's voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. He knocked on the door and after asking, Yang Kao opened the door without much thought or hesitation. However, Yang Kao then saw Suliang and Tan Kinja sitting on Suliang, galloping together. Moment. Yang Kao was stunned. And at this moment, not only Yang Kao, but Suliang and Tan Kinja were also stunned. Neither of them expected that when their yin and yang were harmonizing, someone would come in. Girl Yang Kao, when she enters someone else's room, doesn't she know how to knock on the door? Oh, because this is my man's room, so that's okay. For a while. Looking at Suliang and Tan Kinja who were in high spirits, Yang Kao was stunned on the spot, not knowing whether he should leave or go in. This situation. It wouldn't be polite to just leave, but if you just go in, wouldn't that mean you have to get involved? It's not impossible, but I have never tried being with Tan Kinja, my sister's master. Thinking about it makes me feel a little embarrassed. Suliang and Tan Kinja, for a moment, didn't know whether they should stop here or continue. And just then, although Yang Kao was confused in his heart, his body was very honest. He subconsciously took a step forward, walked into the room, and closed the door with his back hand. Then, the room became even more awkward. After a while, Yang Kao tried to speak, otherwise, But before he finished speaking, the door was opened again, and then, a beautiful figure jumped in and said, Suliang, are you there? Your little cutie is here to find you. Then, Qin Benjao saw her man, her master, and her sister in the small room. Blinking, looking at the postures of her man, her master, and the position of her sister, Qin Benjao subconsciously said, Did I come at the wrong time? Boom. The giant sword came out of the box and the rain fell. Suliang hugged his sister and placed it beside him. He waved to the two sisters standing at the door, We are all here, how about, everyone come together. Hearing this, Qin Benjao and Yang Kao looked at each other and saw the desire in each other's eyes. After all, Suliang is about to leave here, and although his party will not die, it is still unclear when he will return. So, you have to eat before your man leaves. Otherwise, why would the two of them visit Suliang at this time? In this situation, although the two of them did not imagine that they would monopolize their own men, it seems that if they were together, it would not be impossible. Nodding slightly, the two sisters walked forward hand in hand. Together, we are together. Today, when we sisters join forces, aren't we already Tan Kinja's rival? Impossible. Today is the struggle for Qin Benjao and Yang Kao. Hey, Tan Kinja, that sword belongs to our two sisters. Before departure, Wan Qing, however, avoided Qin Wanyu and others and called Suliang to her room alone. "Master, what's wrong?" Seeing his master's face serious and unsmiling, with a rare serious expression, Suliang asked with some confusion. "Of course it's because of you." Wan Qing sighed, her expression full of worry and concern. "It goes without saying that the Yin-Yang Dao sect is a large sect, but except for those elders, no one else is your opponent, so you don't have to worry about anything. But there is something strange about the existence of Yin-Yang Dao sect Donghuang. The name Donghuang has existed for thousands of years. It can be said to be eternal. Even before the creation of Yin-Yang Dao sect, Donghuang existed. I just don't know whether this so-called Donghuang is a name or a person. If it's a name, that's normal, but if Donghuang is a person, it would be terrifying. He has survived for thousands of years, but his cultivation background is unknown." Hearing this, Suliang smiled and said, "Master, don't worry, my disciple will be more careful. Since I have promised to you, I will naturally go. Even if there is danger, I should face it." Rolling her eyes, Wan Qing's face turned serious again. "No matter what, your safety is the most important thing. So, in order to ensure your safety, I will provide you with a life-saving means." "What means?" Suliang asked subconsciously. However, facing Suliang's question, Wan Qing did not answer. Instead, her pretty face turned crimson, her eyes were as charming as silk, and she looked at Suliang with such evil intentions. Next, Wan Qing suddenly stood up on tiptoes, got close to Suliang's neck, and kissed Suliang forcefully without caring about Suliang's reaction. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 284. His. Feeling the moist warmth on his neck and the slight force coming from him, Suliang almost gasped. To be honest, although I don't know what Master is going to do, this feeling is really comfortable. After a while, Wan Qing left Suliang and subconsciously licked her lips. When she looked at Suliang's neck, there was already a bright red strawberry mark left on her neck. Suliang was naturally aware of the changes in his body, and subconsciously caressed the marks on his neck. Suliang asked doubtfully, "Master, what are you doing?" "Of course it's a life-saving measure for you," Wan Qing said seriously, but whether it was her fiery eyes or her subconscious licking of her red lips, they all revealed a different kind of charm, swaying Suliang's mind like a fairy. "Gilug." Suliang swallowed subconsciously, feeling that the master looked like this. "It's so tempting, okay. Is it possible that my destiny is really to be a master and a disciple?" When it was time to set off, Suliang and Qin Wanyu stood side by side and hand in hand in the courtyard of the mansion, saying goodbye to Qin Benjao and others. "Husband, let's go." Qin Wanyu smiled coquettishly at Suliang, then hugged Suliang's arm tightly, letting Suliang's arm sink into her proud peak without caring, and then activated the secret method of Yin-Yang Dao sect. This secret method is used for teleportation. With the help of this secret method, Suliang and Qin Wanyu can directly reach the Yin-Yang Dao sect without traveling thousands of miles, which is very convenient. Certainly. This method can also greatly eliminate the possibility of exposure of the Yin-Yang Dao sect. And the moment Qin Wanyu activated the secret method, a vague spatial fluctuation appeared, and then, a silver light covered Suliang and Qin Wanyu. This moment, Suliang and Qin Wanyu felt like the world was spinning. A huge, mysterious, and irresistible force pulled their bodies forward, as if they had crossed some barrier. But in the process of transmission, a strange force suddenly appeared, pulling Suliang's body, instantly taking Suliang away and disappearing. Looking at the empty space around her, Qin Wanyu was stunned for a moment, then immediately reacted and shouted anxiously, "Husband!" A flash of silver light flashed, and Suliang closed his eyes subconsciously. When he opened them again, the scene in front of him changed drastically. I saw. In front of Suliang, people were coming and going, as if he were in a busy city block. Vendors were selling their goods along the street, and pedestrians were walking shoulder to shoulder. It was very lively. Suliang scratched his head subconsciously, feeling a little confused. This is not the Yin-Yang Dao sect at all, right? And in Suliang's perception, this place doesn't seem to be a real world. Little did Suliang know that the misplaced teleportation just now actually sent him directly to the Yin-Yang fantasy world. It just so happened that at this time, all kinds of things were evolving in the Yin-Yang fantasy world, which made the entire fantasy world seem like a new world, but it could not change the essence of this place. Since it is an illusion, then naturally, everything is not real. After standing in the middle of the street for a moment, Suliang watched the people coming and going around him. After thinking for a while, he chose a direction and started walking forward, trying to get deeper into the world. Soon, Suliang discovered that even though all his perceptions told him that this place was real, it was still difficult to conceal its false nature. Even if he can interact with everything around him, and even if he tastes the delicacies of this world, he will indeed feel full, but falsehood is false after all, and it can never cross the dividing line with reality. Looking at everything around him, Suliang was slightly surprised. This fantasy world seems to be like an inferior version of The Sims. Perhaps a new world has indeed evolved here, but the person in it is just a poor person trapped in the fantasy and unable to extricate himself. But, even so, it is not easy to do this. The person who created this illusion world should not be underestimated. Oh, it's just a fantasy, nothing more than that. Suliang laughed twice, and with one glance he saw the falsehood, and strode forward. Regardless of the surprised looks of passers-by, he was completely unaffected. At the same time, outside the fantasy world, Dongjun, who had been in contact with Qin Wanyu, was actually standing here with Qin Wanyu, observing everything Suliang did in the fantasy world. In the past, Dongjun had always covered her body and appearance, and her voice could not be heard clearly, making it impossible to identify her identity. But now, in his own territory, facing people he is familiar with, Dongjun no longer covers his face. Identity. At first glance, the so-called Dongjun is actually like Qin Wanyu, a mature woman with unparalleled grace. At this moment, she was standing here with Qin Wanyu. The two gorgeous mature women stood alone, which was very eye-catching and heart-warming. As if he didn't see the worry on Qin Wanyu's face, Dongjun introduced, "This yin and yang fantasy world has been extremely dangerous since its birth. In the illusion world, it is difficult to distinguish between true and false. If you do not have a strong mind and insight, it is easy to become addicted to it, and regard the false as real, and the real as false, and you will be unable to escape from it throughout your life. For this reason, even the most proud members of the sect dare not easily set foot in the illusory world, because they are easily unable to extricate themselves from it." At this point, Dongjun sighed and said, "The proud men in our sect are like this, let alone an outsider. Alas, it would be too cruel to let Suliang, an outsider, go to the fantasy world." After hearing this, Qin Wanyu immediately became anxious. "Are you kidding me? I finally made up my mind to take my king back to my parents' home for a visit, but you want to kill the king? No, I won't agree. I'm going to find my husband right now." Qin Wanyu said anxiously and worriedly, looking at Dong Huang who was not far away. "The sect master has gone too far. My husband clearly came to the appointment with good intentions. How could the sect master harm my husband like this?" Faced with Qin Wanyu's accusation and dissatisfaction, Dong Huang remained indifferent and just said lightly, "Just watch quietly." "Sect master, you..." Qin Wanyu was very dissatisfied with Dong Huang's attitude, but after all, the sect leader was the sect leader. No one had a higher status than Qin Wanyu, and he couldn't beat him. Even though he was helpless and anxious at the moment, he could only hum softly and continue reading. But soon, Qin Wanyu and Dong Jun could no longer remain calm. Seeing that Suliang had never indulged in an illusion before, he woke up in a flash, and the illusion was shattered at a glance. Qin Wanyu and Dong Jun's mouths opened slightly, they were so shocked that they were indescribably shocked. Obviously, this was just his first time entering the illusory world of yin and yang, so why was he not affected at all? Seeing everything Suliang has experienced, the food in his mouth has a real texture and taste. Giving a slap to a passerby will make him curse on the spot, being chopped by a passerby will cause bleeding and pain. Even if they are just watching here, the two women know very well that even if they are allowed to enter it themselves, they cannot tell what is real and what is false. This moment, Qin Wanyu and Dong Jun were both curious. How did Suliang judge that everything in the fantasy world was false? Dong Huang, who was on the side, watched Suliang's every move in the fantasy world, and his red gold eyes gradually became deeper. Suliang is indeed that one. Not long after, Suliang successfully passed the level, and the door to the illusion world opened, destroying the illusion and leading directly to the outside world. Suliang walked out of the illusion world, looked at everything around him, and said curiously, "Is this the Yin-Yang Dao sect?" Immediately afterwards, Suliang turned his head and saw Qin Wanyu, who was dazed at the side. He greeted happily, "Wanyu, it turns out you arrived safely. You scared me when you were separated before." However, at this moment, Qin Wanyu and Dong Jun had no intention of greeting Suliang. At this moment, the two of them looked at Suliang's figure and were filled with disbelief. Suliang actually came out of the illusion world so quickly? How is this possible? This speed is too fast. You must know that if you are deeply trapped in the illusion world, even the elders of the Yin-Yang Dao sect are likely to be addicted to it and find it difficult to extricate themselves. Only a few can get out of it, and it may even take a long time. Volume 1 Chapter 261 The Eastern Emperor appears, the intricate galaxy of destiny. A person like Suliang, who can see through falsehood at a glance and clear the level quickly, is simply unprecedented. All right. Dong Huang suddenly stepped forward and said to Dong Jun, "Qin Wanyu and everyone, you all go down, Suliang will come to entertain you personally." "Yes, yes." Qin Wanyu and Dong Jun came to their senses, quickly bowed and left quickly. Before leaving, Qin Wanyu glanced at Suliang secretly, her eyes full of apology. Suliang smiled at her and shook his head, expressing that he didn't care. After his Wanyu and Dong Jun were completely far away, he came to Dong Huang and bowed, "I have met Dong Huang." Dong Huang nodded slightly, staring at Suliang with his red gold eyes for a long time. After a moment, he turned around and said, "You are very good at being able to pass through the yin-yang illusion realm so quickly. Let's go. I happen to be in a good mood today, so I'll take you into my Dao section." Chapter 400 The Trajectory of Fate. Among the yin-yang Dao sect, Dong Huang walked slowly, with a calm demeanor, and Suliang followed closely, with his hands behind his back. Although his cultivation and status were far different from Dong Huang, Suliang did not feel inferior to others. If we ignore the fact that Dong Huang is one step ahead of Suliang, looking at this scene, it makes people feel that Suliang and Dong Huang have an equal relationship. At this moment, Dong Huang suddenly spoke up and said, "Suliang, I wonder what you think about the starry sky and destiny." Suliang was stunned for a moment, then smiled and shook his head. "Young man has never paid attention to these things. I wonder if the Dong Huang sect master suddenly mentioned this, what kind of advice do you have?" "Ah." Dong Huang chuckled lightly, but suddenly stretched out his delicate white jade finger and crossed it in the air in front of him. Next, the jade finger evolved, and the long river of stars flowed backwards from the sky. Suddenly, it appeared in front of Sul Yang. The stars were walking on it, shining brightly. But behind the stars, there was deep darkness, like an abyss. However, in the abyss behind the stars, there are seemingly invisible tracks, which appear densely here, which is confusing. The jade finger passed through the air, connecting the stars one by one, gradually matching the trajectory in the darkness behind him. Dong Huang said softly, "In this world, everyone has a destiny trajectory, no matter how they struggle, no matter how you resist, no matter how heroic you are, you still can't get rid of the control of fate. You can only move forward according to the destined path. No matter what Qin Wanyu or you have done, all the joys and sorrows she has experienced, they are all part of this destiny trajectory and have never deviated from it. If someone hadn't noticed and interfered, the fate of the people in this world would never have changed in this lifetime." Listening to Dong Huang's words, Sul Yang gradually became confused and asked, "So?" To be honest, Sul Yang still didn't understand what Dong Huang wanted to say, and what she said would obviously not have any impact on Sul Yang. "I can see those destiny trajectories and influence them." Dong Huang calmly explained what he did. "So, my manipulation of the dynasty is nothing more than trying to guide it in a better direction. In this way, although it violates the prohibition of the world of immortality, it is also a good intention. Originally innocent." Immediately, Dong Huang looked at Sul Yang and asked curiously, "I don't know, what do you think of my actions?" After listening to Dong Huang's words, Sul Yang thought about it for a while, but then he came to his senses. Was she explaining to herself what she had done? And through intervention, changing the fate of others is not like changing one's destiny against nature, right? How could it be so simple to change one's fate against the will of heaven? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 285. But I don't believe this. Thinking in his mind, Sul Yang shook his head. "I, Sul Yang, have never believed in fate. The so-called fate is just an excuse for my own failure. If it is true that destiny cannot be violated in this world, then what is the purpose of cultivating immortals? Believe in the so-called fate, it is better to work hard yourself, maybe you can get a good result." Hearing this, Dong Huang's footsteps suddenly stopped. Then, she looked at Sul Yang, a trace of surprise and appreciation flashed in her red gold eyes. After a while, Dong Huang nodded and said appreciatively, "Yes, I really appreciate your views at this time, but I hope you can continue to maintain these thoughts after going through all the world." The words fell. Dong Huang's hand behind his back suddenly came in front of him, his sleeve slipped off, and there was a key in the delicate white jade hand. "This key is given to you by me as a reward for passing the fantasy world." Dong Huang put the key into Sul Yang's hand and turned his hands away again. "This thing is very suitable for you now." Fingering the key in his hand, Sul Yang asked doubtfully, "May I ask Master Dong Huang, what is this key for?" However, Dong Huang had no intention of answering Sul Yang. He just shook his head and said, "Okay, I'm fine now. You can go." Hearing this, Sul Yang was a little speechless. This Dong Huang seemed quite serious before. Apart from believing in such illusory things as fate, he didn't seem to have any major shortcomings. But now it seems that she is also a riddler and has given the reward to herself. Is it troublesome to tell me the purpose of this reward? Riddler, please get out of the world of immortality. But after all, we were on someone else's territory now. Although Sul Yang was speechless, he still bowed respectfully, and then turned around and left to find his queen mother. And when Sul Yang left, Dong Huang watched Sul Yang's back disappear completely, and then he sighed. Next moment, in front of Dong Huang, the galaxy evolved by her suddenly changed, and the originally orderly destiny trajectory suddenly became chaotic. Of course, this is not the end for everyone. But for Dong Huang, This change is also not good. Because of Suliang's appearance, everyone's fate has become complicated and elusive. If in the past, everyone's destiny trajectory was a parallel straight line, which could be easily seen, smoothed, and influenced, then now, everyone's destiny trajectory has become a messy ball of yarn. Not to mention seeing it clearly and smoothing it out, with the current trajectory of fate, it is almost impossible to find the thread that can restore everything, let alone exert an influence on it. With his fist slightly clenched, Dong Huang's aura became mysterious and strange. What is before her at this moment is a destined disaster. Under the influence of fate, this disaster is inevitable for her. Therefore, should she eradicate the root cause of this disaster in time, or let it develop? Seem. Volume 1 Chapter 262 A familiar routine, the best friend was teased to death. Neither option is a good idea. For a moment, Dong Huang was caught in a dilemma. After walking for a long time, Suliang finally returned to the room where his Wanyu was. Husband. Holding her man in her arms, Qin Wanyu's eyes were filled with tears, and she looked extremely concerned. She kept looking at and pressing Suliang, as if to make sure that Suliang was fine and not hurt in any way. Okay, it's just an illusion. How can it be so hard to get me? Suliang smiled, rubbed Qin Wanyu's head, and comforted her softly. Husband, I'm sorry. It was my mistake that put my husband in danger. Qin Wanyu hugged Suliang tightly, her heart filled with guilt and tears streaming down her face. If anything happens to my husband, I don't know what to do. Didn't I say that I don't blame you for this? Suliang touched his woman's head with a smile, enjoying the tenderness with his woman. For an extraordinary person like Dong Huang, how can you stop her from doing anything she wants to do? Well. Qin Wanyu hummed softly, but suddenly her soft jade hands gently touched Suliang's body. Next moment, Qin Wanyu raised her head, her charming eyes were as silky as silk, her pretty face was flushed, her fragrant tongue licked her red lips, her body squeezed Suliang more and more, with a soft and gentle look. Husband, you have experienced a lot today, you must be tired, why don't you, how about I let you serve your husband and rest later? My husband was kidnapped by Dong Huang and put in danger. This is all my fault. Therefore, I must do my best to compensate my husband. In the early morning, Qin Wanyu opened her eyes dimly and saw at a glance her own king, who was still sleeping under her. Husband. Qin Wanyu's slender hand gently caressed Suliang's cheek, with a happy smile on her face. She laughed and couldn't stop for a moment. Under Qin Wanyu's actions, Suliang soon woke up from his sleep, opened his eyes in confusion, hugged his woman with his backhand, kissed her gently on the cheek, but refused to open her eyes. Last night, under Qin Wanyu's agitated emotions, Suliang and Qin Wanyu were so miserable that they didn't rest until almost dawn, and only slept for an hour or two in total. Suliang's Hunyuan Chunyang Dao body can withstand this kind of high-intensity labor, but if you don't get enough sleep, you will really die. Although the cow with Hunyuan Chunyang Taoist body is not afraid of death from exhaustion, the cow must be given enough rest, right? Feeling the soft and delicate body rubbing against her, Suliang was a little helpless. Qin Wanyu even went to bed later than herself due to the same hard work. God knows why she wasn't sleepy, but became more and more hydrated. It's simply outrageous. Seeing that Suliang still wanted to continue sleeping, Qin Wanyu smiled, her red lips kept touching Suliang's cheek, kissing all the way down. Okay, husband, the sun has risen, it's time to get up. And as Qin Wanyu moved downward, the round and straight figure behind her unconsciously followed the movement and rose higher. Immediately afterwards. Boom. Feeling the giant sword come out of the box and leave, Qin Wanyu's cheeks turned slightly red. After reconciling the yin and yang with the king last night, I was really too tired, so I fell asleep in the last position. Didn't I expect that I would maintain such a negative distance with the king all night? Well, it doesn't matter since he is the king of his own family anyway. Rather, it's just right. After blinking, Qin Wanyu gave up the action of going all the way down, and moved forward again, still pressing on her king, hugging her king tightly. Hey, king. The two of them looked like this in the morning. It seemed that this scene was quite loving. But right now? Squeak. The door was opened, and a beautiful figure walked in from outside the door, still asking, Wanyu, are you up? But mid-sentence, Qianying looked at Qin Wanyu and Suliang stacked high on the bed, and she was immediately stunned. The person who came was Qin Wanyu's boss and best friend Dong Jun. Dong Jun. Qin Wanyu blinked and asked curiously, why are you here? You are. Dong Jun did not answer Qin Wanyu's words. Instead, he pointed at Qin Wanyu and Suliang. His pretty face turned red and he stammered, unable to speak completely. What's wrong? Qin Wanyu tilted her head and looked at Dong Jun, even more confused. My husband and I sleep together. Isn't this normal? What's wrong with you? I'll wait for you outside the door. Dong Jun flicked his sleeves, turned around and walked out. Hurry up and get dressed and come out to find me. After a while, Qin Wanyu walked out of the room while arranging her clothes. Dong Jun, why did you come to me so early? Besides, why didn't you knock on the door when you came to my room? What's the matter? If nothing happens, can't I come to you? Besides, didn't I often come to see you early in the morning? When did you need to knock on the door? As your best friend, I don't even have this privilege anymore? Or, since you have a man, have you forgotten about me as your best friend? Seeing Qin Wanyu's puzzled look, Dong Jun was so angry that he felt a little resentful that iron could not become steel. Dong Jun stretched out his slender jade finger, pointed Qin Wanyu's forehead, and reprimanded, Qin Wanyu, why have you become so depraved now? How can you be obsessed with a man to such an extent? To you and my sisters, men are just playthings. They just need to be played by us, obey us, and achieve all our goals. When do we need you and me to be obsessed with them? But I didn't expect it. Faced with Dong Jun's words, Qin Wanyu instantly transformed into a little woman. Uncharacteristically, she glanced into the room with a sweet smile on her face, and then she warned Dong Jun earnestly, Dong Jun, such words, you must never say it again in the future. I'm afraid my husband will misunderstand me if he hears it. If you have never been in contact with a man, you won't understand love. If you really meet the one you love, then from now on, your heart will be filled with him, you will be happy for him, sad for him, and just want to stay with him for the rest of your life and never be separated again. When he said this, he seemed to have thought of something, and Qin Wanyu's smile became gentler and sweeter. Qin Wanyu didn't expect that her words would directly kill the single Dong Jun. Listening to Qin Wanyu's words, Dong Jun was stunned. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back and looked at Qin Wanyu as if he were looking at a stranger. But then, Dong Jun's eyes became angry. In her heart, she was really angry at Qin Wanyu's changes. When did my good sister become so depraved? I have clearly agreed that I will treat men as playthings for the rest of my life and will never sink into them, but Wanyuan, why did you leave me first? A good best friend, she obviously wants to stay and fly with her. How can she find a man? How dare she find a man? Qin Wanyu, you are such a treacherous villain, you actually abandoned your good sister because of a mere man. No, how could my best friend be at fault? That man should be the one at fault. Suliang. If it weren't for him, how could Wanyu have betrayed her trust, left me, and fallen to this level? Yes, that's right, that's it. Everything is Suliang's fault. Suliang, I asked you to abduct my Dong Jun's best friend and see how I deal with you. Thinking in his mind, Dong Jun slowly clenched his hands, already having a plan in mind. In order to let his best friend recognize the face of Suliang's mere man, Dong Jun planned to take the initiative and seduce Suliang. And then, we must let him reveal his true colors and let Wanyu know his philandering nature. In this way, Wanyu will wake up, leave him, and return to her arms. Man, there is no good thing. After making a decision in his heart, Dong Jun found a reason to put Qin Wanyu away for the time being. Then, after calculating the time for Qin Wanyu's return and making sure that Qin Wanyu could see what he wanted her to see, Dong Jun rubbed his cheeks, putting a soft smile on his slightly stiff face. Since it was going to be a show, it was natural to do a complete set. Otherwise, if Suliang was found out and Suliang was not fooled, he would be embarrassed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 286. Immediately, Dong Jun pushed the door open and walked into the room, planning to carry out his plan. Chapter 402, Dong Jun's Bestie Rescue Plan. Huh? Are you, Dong Jun? Looking at Dong Jun who walked into the room, Suliang said with some uncertainty. He had only met Dong Jun once outside the fantasy world before, and had never been introduced to him at all. And the reason why Suliang was able to call Dong Jun by his name was entirely because of what Suliang heard his Wanyu say before. At this moment, Suliang had already gotten up, dressed and packed while Dong Jun and Qin Wanyu were talking. He was sitting at the table, sipping tea. Wanyu has something to do, so I'll come and entertain you. Dong Jun said, walking up to Suliang, with a soft smile on his face, wearing a crimson dress, graceful, but under the grace and splendor, he was full of charm and mature. Charm. Coupled with her mature and plump figure, her proud peaks are towering, her plump and beautiful legs are full of flesh, her back is round and straight, and her appearance is extremely beautiful and mature. In terms of appearance alone, Dong Jun is not weaker than Qin Wanyu at all. Wanyu is in Daxia during this period, but I'm sorry to trouble you to take care of her. As he spoke, Dong Jun came closer to Suliang, held Suliang's chin with his slender jade fingers, and came close to Suliang's ear. As the fragrance blew against his face, Dong Men said in a charming voice, I don't know, how can I thank you, sister? Such a close gesture, coupled with the ambiguous words Dong Jun said, are full of all kinds of hints. If it were someone with a weak willpower, I'm afraid they would have gotten together by now, okay. However, Suliang at this moment was not affected by Dong Jun at all. After blinking, Suliang retreated a little, but he could see Dong Jun's purpose at a glance. Isn't it just pretending to be a goblin to seduce yourself? Only. In Suliang's eyes, Dong Jun's charm is too clumsy, right? This is nothing. Just holding my chin and leaning closer to me, saying some ambiguous words, is it considered temptation? This is simply not enough to watch. Not to mention his sister, master, and Qin Wanyu, in Suliang's opinion, Dong Jun at this moment is actually not as good as the goblin in the ancient forest that the master arranged for him to test. Not only did it fail to arouse Suliang's interest at all, but Suliang even saw through it at a glance. It's such a failure, it's not worthy of Dong Jun's charming charm. Is this also a goblin? While complaining in his heart, Suliang showed a smile on his face. No matter what the reason was for Dong Jun to treat him like this, since he was his Wanyu's good friend, he would not let her go away disappointed. Since Dong Jun doesn't know how to charm, he should help her and teach her. Thinking back to the beginning, wasn't the method I used on Wanyuan very useful? The veteran driver is leaving online. As soon as he thought of this, Suliang stood up immediately, with an inexplicable smile on his face, and said softly, "Oh, then how do you want to thank me?" While talking, Suliang moved forward step by step, constantly approaching Dong Jun, as if he did not shy away from close contact with Dong Jun. But Suliang doesn't shy away from it, but Dong Jun can't. When she came to Suliang, she originally wanted to let her best friend see Suliang's true face, but she never thought of involving herself in it. This man is only worthy of being my Dong Jun's plaything, how could I let him take advantage of me? Then, subconsciously, Dong Jun followed Suliang's advance and slowly retreated. On his beautiful face, he still refused to admit defeat. He put on a soft smile and said in a charming voice, "As long as it can satisfy you, I can do anything." This has been made very obvious. Now Dong Jun only hoped that after Suliang heard what he said, he couldn't bear it anymore and rushed forward, so that Qin Wanyu, who was driven back, could just happen to see him. But Suliang was not at all what she wanted. "Really, anything is okay?" Suliang raised his eyebrows and asked a question, but suddenly took a step forward. "See this?" Dong Jun was shocked, and subconsciously took a big step back. This time, he hit the wall directly. Dong. There was a muffled sound, feeling the solidity behind him, and looking at Suliang who was already close at hand in front of him, Dong Jun swallowed unconsciously. It seems that there is no way to retreat. Immediately afterwards, Suliang stretched out his arm and pressed it against the wall, blocking Dong Jun in his arms, and gave Dong Jun a wall dong. The whole person moved closer to Dong Jun, not caring at all that Dong Jun's proud peak was pressed against him. Suliang's other hand came up from bottom to touch lightly from the side of Dong Jun's plump legs, and then all the way up. "I want to do this, do you think that's okay?" Suliang leaned close to Dong Jun's ear and said softly. This moment, feeling the arms that tightly wrapped around him, Ao Renfen was slightly deformed due to the tight squeeze. A feeling belonging to Suliang enveloped Dong Jun's whole body. His breath was in his ears, and that big hand seemed to have Ruao kept touching himself. The combination of multiple feelings, this exciting contact that has never been tried before, instantly made Dong Jun's mentality explode. Volume 1 # Chapter 263, Why did my best friend leave in tears, the chance of immortality? Ah! Dong Jun screamed, pushed Suliang away, and ran out of the room. Looking at Dong Jun's fleeing back, Suliang smiled. No matter what Dong Jun wanted to do, he still gave her a hard time and took advantage of her. Well, this wave is not a loss. After leaving the room, Dong Jun sat on the steps outside the door, holding his knees with his hands, his mind filled with what had happened before, but the more he thought about it, the more angry he became. What? It was obvious that I was the one who seduced him in every possible way, but he revealed his true colors, and then he was discovered by Qin Wanyu who happened to come back. Then he was severely beaten by himself. He could only watch in sorrow as he and Wanyu stayed together. But why? He took advantage of me a lot, and the goal was not achieved. Well, how dare he do this to himself? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. At this moment, Dong Jun felt that the tingling feeling just now still remained in his body, and he could not get rid of it no matter what. After suffering such a big loss, I just want to cry, okay. Woohoo, Wanyu, where are you? Why haven't you come to comfort me? Thinking in his mind, Dong Jun's eyes were slightly red, and tears almost rolled in his eyes. And just then, one hand held a tissue and handed it over from behind her. Looking at the tissue handed to him, Dong Jun was stunned for a moment, and then quickly took it, wiping the tears that were about to overflow, and wrote, "Thank you." For some reason, she was still a little touched at this moment. Woohoo, I don't know who this kind person is. Seeing me sad here, he even handed me tissues to comfort me. Although I don't know who you are so sunny. Is it graceful? Even if not, then he must be a sunny, gentle, and kind-hearted person, and I must thank him. Thinking in his heart, Dong Jun slowly turned his head. But then, Dong Jun's whole body froze in place. Seeing Dong Jun looking over, Suliang smiled brightly. Are you okay? Why are you crying? Did I not entertain you well? How could it be him? Suliang, you bastard, it wasn't enough to bully me in the room before, now you come directly outside to continue bullying me? You give me back my touch, you bastard. Looking at Suliang's sunny smiling face, Dong Jun finally couldn't stand it any longer and burst into tears. Immediately afterwards, waiting for Suliang to say anything, Dong Jun immediately stood up, not even caring about the wrinkles on the crimson skirt, and ran away with small steps. Suliang was left standing there with a confused look on his face, filled with outrage. Good guy, it seems like I didn't do anything to her, right? With this level of contact, she actually cried like this? Is it because I have gone too far, or is Dong Jun's ability to bear it just not so good? Touching his chin, Suliang fell into deep thought. And just then, when Dong Jun turned to leave, he happened to bump into Qin Wanyu, who was returning here. However, still waiting for Qin Wanyu to speak to Dong Jun didn't even look at her and ran away crying. His attitude was very determined, but Qin Wanyu was confused. Turning her head and seeing her man standing there, Qin Wanyu smiled happily, ran to Suliang quickly, threw herself into Suliang's arms, hugged Suliang tightly, and rubbed her little head back and forth in Suliang's arms, looking at I feel very happy. When she finally had enough and replenished the king's energy, she raised her head and asked in confusion, "Husband, I saw that Dong Jun left in tears just now. What happened to her?" Hearing this, Suliang shrugged and spread his hands. "I don't know." "Don't you have a very good relationship with her? Don't you know?" Shaking her head, Qin Wanyu's eyes became more confused. However, Qin Wanyu didn't dwell too much on this matter. She directly hugged her man's arm and said happily, "Forget it, leave her alone. Let's go, husband. I have just ordered the kitchen to make us some delicious food. Yes, it will be delivered in a moment. Let's go back to the room and wait. After all, what you want to do with your own king cannot be done outside." After breakfast, Suliang and Qin Wanyu arrived outside a high tower together. The tower is as tall as a cloud, with an unknown number of floors. The tower exudes a feeling of ancient times, with ancient and mysterious patterns engraved on it. It looks like the tower is a bit more mysterious. "Is this where you're talking?" Suliang looked at Qin Wanyu and asked curiously. "Exactly." Qin Wanyu nodded. "This is the symbol of our Yin-Yang Dao section. It is called the Lianji Dao Tower. It has a long history. The tower is located in the realm of Lianji and can explain the Yin-Yang Dao Qi in detail." "Yin-Yang Tao Qi?" Suliang asked curiously. This was the first time he had heard of this term. Qin Wanyu explained with a smile, "The so-called Yin and Yang Dao Qi, the twin Qi at the beginning of the world. Since it was born from the place of heaven and earth, it is naturally extremely powerful and has endless magical uses. It is far better than the spiritual energy we practice and absorb now. It can be said to be precious. Incomparable. If this thing is so powerful, why does it remain until now?" Suliang became even more confused. "If you, the Yin-Yang Dao sect, absorb it yourself, your Yin-Yang Dao sect will be stronger, right? God is fair. Since it is a powerful thing, it naturally has great limitations." Qin Wanyu leaned on her husband's shoulder and said with a smile, "Yin and Yang Dao Qi is powerful, but it is difficult to absorb. Every time it is absorbed, even if it is just a little bit, it is a great torment for people. It is rare. There are even fewer people who can support it, and people who can perfectly accommodate its use. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 287. So, from this point of view, although this yin and yang Dao Qi is precious, it is of little use. Most of the time, it exists as the foundation of Dao section. At this point, it's just that I didn't expect that the sect leader would give me the key to the Lianji Taoist Tower. After all, although there are not many people who can absorb the yin and yang Taoist energy, this Taoist tower can be regarded as my Taoist sect's key. It is a symbol that is difficult for outsiders to enter. After hearing this, Suliang took out the key that Dong Huang had given him as a reward for passing through the illusion world. Fumbling for the key, Suliang sighed slightly, let alone Qin Wanyu. Even Suliang himself did not expect that Dong Huang would give him such a big opportunity. At this moment, he is just on the edge of the immortal realm, and it has been difficult to break through. This yin and yang Dao Qi can make him break through if he wants to. No wonder, Dong Huang said, this key is the most suitable for Suliang at this time. Seeing that Suliang was just groping for the key without saying anything, Qin Wanyu raised her head and looked at Suliang with a little worry. Husband, do you really want to enter the Lianji Dao Tower? Volume 1 Chapter 264, Entering the Tao and Immortality, the Queen Mother is in danger. Although the effect of yin and yang Dao Qi is indeed very strong, the process of absorption and the suffering and pain are really unimaginable to ordinary people. I am worried that my husband will be inside. Before he finished speaking, Qin Wanyu's meaning was already self-evident. Suliang shook his head and said with a smile, cultivating immortals is going against nature. It is normal to have pain in it. How can it be smooth sailing? Opportunities are ahead of us. If we are afraid of pain and injury and stop moving forward, how can we reach the top of the road? With that said, Suliang patted Qin Wanyu's head and said with a smile, go back and wait for me. I will go look for you immediately after I get out of seclusion. Say it. Suliang strode forward and came to the door of Lianji Dao Tower. He opened the door with the key in his hand and walked in without hesitation. Is this the Lianji Dao Tower? Looking at the invisible top of the tower above, Suliang sighed. He could only say that Yin-Yang Dao sect was worthy of being a large section this size was comparable to Fukang Dao sect, let alone Fukang Dao section his own Tiandao sect. After walking a few steps forward, Suliang came to a futon in the center of the tower. He lifted up his clothes and sat on it. Then he closed his eyes and felt a little. Really? In this tower, what is different from spiritual energy belongs to yin and yang. The powerful and dense energy of heaven and earth overflows here. This kind of energy, with just a slight induction, can be sensed that it is far more domineering, thick, and complex than spiritual energy. It seems to have a little chaotic feeling of the first separation of heaven and earth, which can be said to be extremely powerful. All I can say is that it is indeed the twin Qi from the beginning of heaven and earth, and indeed worthy of the title of yin and yang Qi. Absorb some, give it a try, and see if you can use this yin and yang Dao Qi to break through the realm of immortality in one fell swoop. Whispering softly in his mouth, Suliang sat cross-legged on the ground, with his 5 hearts facing the sky, closed his eyes, and fully activated the Minghai Giwen Jin, then tried to capture the yin and yang Tao Qi in the tower, and then absorbed and accommodated it into his body. Make it your own. But at the moment when the yin and yang Dao Qi entered the body, Suliang's body trembled slightly. As soon as the yin and yang Dao Qi entered the body, the sudden pain was so unexpected that Suliang shivered uncontrollably. But then, Suliang calmed down instantly, his expression remained as usual, his body was as stable as a rock, and it seemed that he had not experienced any torture or pain at all. However, at this moment, Suliang's body was indeed shaking like a river. As Qin Wanyu introduced, the yin and yang Dao Qi is completely different from the spiritual energy. The thick and powerful feeling is like the yin and yang of heaven and earth being absorbed into the body, and the so-called spiritual energy is only a small part of it. That's all. Therefore, as soon as the yin and yang Dao Qi entered the body, Suliang felt the ultimate tearing and blocking feeling, as if his meridians were completely blocked and swollen by the yin and yang Dao Qi. Every time the yin and yang Dao Qi moved forward, he would be accompanied by a huge pain. Pain. This kind of massage is like the meridians in the body being swollen and torn apart. However, this heavy feeling of integrating the yin and yang of heaven and earth seems to make the yin and yang Dao Qi even heavier. Just like a solid stone blocking a pipe, the yin and yang Dao Qi advances extremely slowly. The subtle changes in progress are almost invisible to the naked eye. Cannot see. And this also stretched the painful feeling infinitely, as if there was no end in sight. No wonder, for countless years, not many people in the Yin-Yang Dao sect have been able to absorb this Yin-Yang Dao Qi. This extreme slowness, pain, and suffering are indeed not something ordinary people can endure. If you don't have great perseverance, you may have given up at the beginning. Although it is slow, it is indeed moving forward. Although it is painful, it seems to have an end, but the end is far away. This kind of hope with almost no end is the most tortured thing. But just because they can't do it doesn't mean that I, Suliang, can't do it. It's just some suffering and pain, so what does it count? Thinking in his mind, Suliang resolutely used all his strength to activate the Minghai Giwen Jin. With astonishing perseverance, he forcibly absorbed and reconciled the yin and yang Dao Qi, used it for his own use, and absorbed it into his body. Just a moment. The true essence that contains the yin and yang Dao Qi began to surge and boil. As if being injected with new power, the true energy began to surge and circulate in the meridians, and constantly impacted the barriers between realms. This moment, Suliang's cultivation is moving forward steadily and he is on his way to breaking through the realm of immortality. Just when Suliang broke through in seclusion, something big happened in the Yin-Yang Dao sect. Yin-Yang Dao sect, meet the young master. All the elders gathered in the Dao sect, but at this moment, they all knelt down to worship a young man. This young man was dressed in a gorgeous white robe. He had his hands behind his back and a pretty face, but he had a cynical attitude. In his eyes, he looked at everything in the Yin-Yang Dao sect with contempt and indifference. This person is truly the chief sect of the demonic way, the young master of the original demonic sect. The original demon sect is the leading force in the demonic path. The strength of the demon lord is unfathomable. There are many masters in the sect, and even those demonic sects may not be able to compare with them. Whether it is strength, foundation, prestige, or reputation, it can be said that there are almost no forces that can compare with the original demon sect. Even those sect masters who have always been aloof in the world of immortality must treat the demon sect elders with respect when they see them. Otherwise, the original demon sect's destruction of the sect, although it will not be easy, is still a big deal. It is precisely because of this that no one dares to offend even a young master with average cultivation in the entire demonic path. Even the masters of the previous sect must be treated respectfully and with care. As the young master of the original demon sect, this person is cynical and travels all over the world, but he has always had a beauty hunting mentality and loves to collect beauties, just like Qin Wanyu he met 3 years ago. And because of his status as the young master of the original demon sect, and the beauty of the demon sect, there are really only a handful of things he can get, except for Qin Wanyu 3 years ago. Now, the young master has visited Yin-Yang Dao sect again, which means it is self-evident. Stop being so nagging. The young master waved his hand and said straight to the point, 3 years ago, the one I saw when I came to you, that Qin Wanyu? You call her over, and I will take her away. In one sentence, he would take away the people of Dao section. To act like this is not to say that he is not overbearing. However, the elders who knelt down in front of him did not dare to say even a word of rejection, for fear that they would offend the young master with one word and cause catastrophe to themselves and the Dao sect. In recent years, in the demonic way, Are there still many sects that have been exterminated because they refused the young master's request? But all this was seen by Dongjun, who was hiding in the distance. Seeing that the young master of the original demon sect came to ask for his best friend, but these elders did not dare to say a word of rejection, Dongjun hurriedly left secretly, hurried to Qin Wanyu's room, took his best friend and walked out. Wanyu, hurry up, hide quickly, the young master of the original demon sect is here, and it seems that he is here to ask for you. Hearing this, Qin Wanyu was stunned. She recalled the scene 3 years ago in her mind and couldn't help but walk a little faster. In Qin Wanyu's opinion, the young master of the original demon sect is not even 1/10,000th as good as his own king. How is it possible for her to follow him? However, at this moment, I wanted to hide, but it was already too late. At the moment when Dongjun pulled Qin Wanyu out of the room, a group of elders had already arrived with the young master. Qin Wanyu. Looking at Qin Wanyu, who was stunningly beautiful and extremely mature, the young master nodded with satisfaction and beckoned, "Come with me and become my 53rd concubine." As soon as these words came out, Qin Wanyu's expression changed and she immediately wanted to refuse. "I, Qin Wanyu, belong to the king and belong to the king only in this and the next life. Even if I die here, I will never go with you." But before Qin Wanyu could refuse, some elders started to agree. "Wanyu, please agree quickly. It is your blessing to go to the original demon sect with the young master and become the young master's 53rd concubine. This is also a blessing for my Dao section." Exactly, this opportunity to enter a top sect is something you can't even ask for. Qin Wanyu, don't be ignorant of good and evil. Listening to the echoes and persuasion of the elders, he looked at the young master, who looked plain, as if he had robbed someone, and then looked at his anxious girlfriend beside him. Qin Wanyu took a deep breath, and the restless feeling in her heart gradually calmed down. The elders are aggressive, and the young master of the first sect of the demonic path comes to ask for someone, but the king still has not left the seclusion. It seems that he has no room for resistance today. In this case, he has only one chance to die. I only regret that I was not able to spend my whole life with the king, and that I was not able to see the king one last time. Your Majesty, take care of yourself for the rest of your life. In the next life, I will be the one who sleeps with the king and will be with him forever." Looking up in the direction of Lianji Dao Tower, a smile gradually appeared on Qin Wanyu's face. Next moment, Qin Wanyu suddenly turned around and said in a calm but firm voice, "I refuse. Reject." Faced with Qin Wanyu's rejection, the young master of the original demon sect did not show any intention of getting angry. Until now, it was not like he had never met someone who refused, but no matter who rejected him, there were only two choices in the end. Either follow him obediently, or wait for the entire sect to be destroyed. The same is true for those small sects, and the same is true for Yin Yang Dao sect. It's just a larger section. The original demon sect can be destroyed easily, so there's nothing to be afraid of. The young master is not angry, but it does not mean that the elders are not angry. Seeing Qin Wanyu's refusal, an elder on the spot angrily said, "Qin Wanyu, you have such a huge opportunity to marry the young master and enter the original demon section, you dare to refuse. You are seeking death. If you anger the young master, but you feel better. Let me tell you clearly, Qin Wanyu, today, whether you agree or not, you have to agree. You will not be allowed to refuse. Oh, it doesn't matter if she refuses. Since the young master wants it, then even if it's a kidnapping, we have to kidnap Qin Wanyu to the original demon section. It doesn't matter whether she refuses or not." Faced with the elder's insistence and aggressiveness, who seemed determined to send her out, Qin Wanyu also showed no sign of anger. With a faint smile, Qin Wanyu suddenly unsheathed his sword and pointed it at the people in front of him. "Which elder wants to take away Wanyu, please come forward and try." Although Wanyu's cultivation is not as good as the elders, She will die with you all. I still have the courage. After hearing this, the expressions of all the elders changed. They never expected that Qin Huanyu's refusal attitude would be so tough. However, what they are worried about is not that Qin Huanyu will drag them to death. In their eyes, with Qin Huanyu's cultivation, even if she attacks with all her strength, regardless of the cost, she will not be able to hurt them. In the end, she will still be captured by them. Down. What they are really worried about is that Qin Huan's date will anger the young master. At that time, not only will the benefits to the Yin-Yang Dao sect no longer exist because Qin Huanyu marries the original demon sect, their Yin-Yang Dao sect may also be completely destroyed by the angry demon sect. And just then, when the young master heard Qin Huanyu's rejection, the calmness and indifference on his face disappeared. The young master smiled coldly, shook his head and said, "Tisk, that's really disappointing. Yin-Yang Dao sect, tisk tisk, you are indeed very courageous. You dare to resist this young master to such an extent. Oh, how many years has it been since there has been such a stubborn sect?" Listening to the young master's words that seemed to be muttering to himself, the expressions of all the elders changed. The young master is having murderous intent. No, we can no longer let Qin Huanyu go on like this, otherwise, not only will we not get any benefits, but we will also be in danger. Looking at each other, the elders all saw the determination in each other's eyes. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 288. At the same time, the closed door of the Lianji Dao Tower not far away suddenly opened. Immediately afterwards, a figure walked out of the Tao Tower. The next moment, it flew into the sky and stood proudly between heaven and earth. The aura on its body was constantly rising and breaking through. In the blink of an eye, it had broken through the barrier of immortality and achieved immortality. This figure is none other than Sul Yang. Slowly opening his eyes, Sul Yang looked at the world, feeling the changes after entering immortality, and nodded with satisfaction. Entering immortality, accessing heaven and earth, and the true essence and spiritual consciousness can all accommodate the world, and the changes brought about are unprecedented. At this moment, Sul Yang felt that the world seemed to be an extension of his perception. The spiritual energy of the world could be used for his own purposes. The danger was hidden, but it was no match for a single thought. This feeling is not about becoming the master of this world, but rather, it seems to be integrating into the world and becoming a part of it. Is this the realm of immortality? Sul Yang stretched out his hand in front of him and shook it slightly, feeling a little emotional as he felt the power that could break mountains and rivers. Compared with the person he was before entering the Lianji Dao Tower, he is probably powerful enough to defeat 1 against 100. It's not that his power is 100 times greater than before, it's just that Sul Yang's current understanding and control of the power of heaven and earth is more than 100 times better than what he had before. And just then, Sul Yang suddenly sensed dangers lurking. Subconsciously looking in the direction of danger, Sul Yang frowned slightly. There is a place where my family is graceful. Could it be that Huanyu encountered some danger? With this thought, Sul Yang didn't have time to think too much. He crossed the sky in one step and walked on the sky. Soon, he came to the place where Qin Huanyu was. Then, Sul Yang saw at a glance that the young master of the original demon sect, together with a group of elders, was coercing Qin Huanyu. Sul Yang naturally didn't know who this young man was, but even if he knew, Sul Yang wouldn't have any fear. No matter who he is, if he dares to force his woman to do this, he is seeking death. Snort. Sul Yang snorted coldly, "How dare you, Fang Xiao, a young man who acts so wildly and domineeringly, to attack my people? You are looking for death." The words fell. Sul Yang took a step forward, and at the same time pointed his sword. At the same time, sword energy emerged from around him, and with the sword's sharp sword intention rising to the sky, Suliang slashed it out with the sword, pointing directly at the young master. This moment, the young master was completely stunned. He really didn't expect that someone in this mere yin-yang Dao sect would dare to take action against him, and if he did, it would be a killing move. In a hurry, the young master shouted angrily, "If you dare to attack me, you are seeking death." The words fell. A series of streamlined but extremely powerful defensive methods were deployed by the young master in front of him, hoping to block Suliang's sword energy. Ding dong. There was a sound of metal and iron clashing, and Suliang's sword energy was actually blocked by this defense. Most of the remaining sword energy had lost its original power. Even if it broke through the defense and hit the young master, it would only be enough. He beat him upside down and vomited blood. Suliang raised his eyebrows and said, "One move is not enough, then use another move." The words fell. Suliang, however, used the Minghai Guiyuan engine, and took action to destroy both heaven and earth. The energy of all things condensed in his hand, and was gradually compressed into the size of a bullet, and he held it in his hand. Go. With a soft drink, the energy of all things shot towards the young master with extremely powerful and destructive power. With Suliang's current strength, if he used this move again, if he was hit, the young master would probably die on the spot, and no one would be able to save him. With such a move, I want to kill this young master. However, the young master staggered to his feet. Facing Suliang's sure kill move, he just pulled off the jade pendant hanging on his chest and threw it forward. Immediately afterwards, the jade pendant shone brightly, and a defensive method that had been stored in it for a long time was unleashed. It took Suliang's move and disappeared together with Suliang's double destruction of heaven and earth, but it perfectly withstood the power of double destruction of heaven and earth. Seeing this, Suliang raised his eyebrows again. The young master's methods are indeed a bit too much. But it doesn't matter, since he blocked the second move, he will make another move. As soon as he thought about this, Suliang turned his hand and found a long sword in his hand. Next, the endless sharpness, carrying the ultimate sword intention with no regrets, soared into the sky, seeming to tear the heaven and the earth apart. Everyone who saw the scene was horrified and trembled. One sword, no regrets. With a soft groan, Suliang briefly charged up his strength, then stabbed out with the sword, with no regrets. But facing Suliang's extremely sharp and indomitable sword, the young master's expression finally changed drastically. It can't be stopped, it certainly can't be stopped. Will die. Facing Suliang's fatal sword, the expression of the young master of the original demon sect changed drastically, and he couldn't help but retreat. He felt the danger of death from this sword. However, Volume 1 # Chapter 265 So what if I went on a killing spree today? Suliang's sword was as fast as thunder, but the young master subconsciously retreated. How could he possibly avoid it? Then, in just the blink of an eye, accompanied by the sound of whistling swords, Suliang approached the young master with a sword, almost piercing his heart. But right now, a phantom suddenly rose from the young master's body, separating the young master from Suliang. At the same time, an extremely powerful pressure enveloped the entire place, overwhelming all living beings. At this moment, even the elders of the Yin-Yang Dao sect could hardly breathe, and their bodies subconsciously bent down, as if they were bowing to the phantom. Suliang was the only one who still maintained his sword-drawing posture, his eyes full of indifferent killing intent. The power of the Wogui sword did not diminish at all, but became more and more powerful. There is no regret with one sword strike, and there is no regret when the sword is drawn out. Even if the peerless master in front of you blocks the way, you will still kill him with one sword. How could I bend my back with just a little pressure? I am the demon lord, why should Xiao Xiao dare to be so bold and intend to kill my original demon sect's young master? The phantom put its hands behind its back, and in an instant, a majestic feeling of overpowering all living beings in the world and being alone, with abiding evil energy, was revealed. Under the momentum of this phantom, all the elders almost fell to their knees with horrified expressions. It turned out to be the phantom of the demon lord. Suliang's killing sword even provoked the demon lord's phantom. But then, these elders smiled coldly and looked at Suliang with disdain in their eyes. Facing the young master, he might still be able to do it, but now he is facing the demon lord. Even if it is just a phantom, it is also the phantom of the most powerful person in the world. This is no longer a matter of being able to defeat Suliang. Once Suliang offends the demon lord, the original demon sect will definitely use all its strength to hunt down Suliang from heaven to earth. This is a certain death. In this case, how dare he continue to attack and offend the demon lord? In the opinion of the elders, Suliang would definitely be so frightened that he would tremble, kneel on the ground, beg for forgiveness, and offer Qin Wanyu his hands. However, next moment, Suliang's appearance was completely beyond their expectations. Demon Lord, so what? Suliang chuckled lightly and continued to thrust forward with his sword. He instantly penetrated the demon lord's phantom and pierced the young master's heart with his sword. No regrets with one sword, no matter what your identity is, if the sword is drawn, it will kill without mercy. The young master and the demon lord were all killed. The sword pierced the heart, and the young master's heart was instantly broken. He couldn't even utter a scream, and he couldn't die anymore. The phantom of the demon king had already dissipated. Seeing the young master falling to the ground with blood spurting from his heart, and Suliang sheathing his sword, everyone present was stunned. Suliang actually risked offending the demon lord and being hunted by the demon lord to kill the young master? This is a situation that no one can react to. It was two extremes from what they expected. After being shocked and stunned for a moment, the elders all got up from the ground, looked at each other, and then one of them shouted, "Come here, arrest these three daring people first. After all the elders have arrived, let's judge together." There is no way, this time Suliang made too much noise. If these elders don't quickly judge, draw a clear line, and come up with a solution, I am afraid that the entire Yin-Yang Dao sect will be destroyed by the angry primitive demon. Zone subordinates. This is not what these elders want to see. After listening to the elders' words, Suliang chuckled, looked at them with disdain, and shook his head. No need to go to so much trouble. Whatever you want to do, just stay here. I won't run away. After hearing this, all the elders looked at each other and after briefly exchanging opinions, they nodded in a very cryptic manner. Anyway, since Suliang can't be taken away, let's have a joint trial here. It's really because Suliang killed the young master in 3 steps before, and the combat power he displayed was so terrifying that the elders felt that they might not be able to catch Suliang. After making the decision, an elder stood up and reprimanded sternly, "Suliang, as a guest of our Dao sect, you dare to kill the young master of the original demon sect in our Dao section. Such a vicious guest is really unacceptable. It's too audacious. Even though you are not a member of our Dao sect, in order to avenge the young master, we cannot spare you today. You should be captured quickly and be killed at your neck." Facing the elders' scolding, Suliang asked, "You say I'm a bad guest, but I've been doing my job honestly since I came to Daozong. On the contrary, the young master I just killed didn't have any good intentions. Did you come here? Humph, how do you know how great the young master is?" Another elder stood up, scolded and blamed, "Young master came here just to pursue true love and want to take Qin Wanyu away. In this way, not only our Dao sect will benefit, but Qin Wanyu will also benefit. This is what's wrong. On the other hand, it's you. Qin Wanyu boldly rejected the young master, and you were so bold that you took action against the young master. Such behavior is really a heinous crime. Heaven and earth are angry. If I don't kill you, it won't be enough to appease the anger. After hearing this, the elder's words almost made Suliang laugh in anger. Regardless of right or wrong, regardless of reason, just to please others, you ignore the personal wishes of the disciples in the sect and force the disciples to do things they don't want to do, or even ruin their lives. What kind of sect is this? How worthy are these people to be elders? Ask yourself, if these things happened in Tiandao sect, Suliang's answer would be only one word. Roll. No matter how powerful the opponent is, he can only kill him with one sword. Afterwards, he can only fight to the death. Looking at these elders with disdain, Suliang didn't even bother to say a word to these elders. At this moment, Dong Jun protested, "Elders, it is obvious that Wanyu does not want to follow that young master, but you are pressing her every step of the way. Furthermore, Wanyu already has someone she loves, how could she possibly be with that young master? Walk. You guys, how could you waste Gu Wanyu's wish, confuse right and wrong, and impose guilt? In this case, our Yin-Yang Dao sect cannot even keep a single disciple. Instead, we have to sell our disciples in exchange for benefits. How can we be called a Dao sect? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 289. But I didn't expect it. In the face of Dong Jun's protest, some pedantic elders completely ignored Dong Jun's protest and still only confused right and wrong and distorted the facts. After all, in the hearts of these elders, the overall situation is the most important thing. Pointing at Qin Wanyu, one of the elders began to overwhelm others with their righteousness and ordered sternly, "Now that the young master has died in our Yin-Yang Dao sect, and the demon lord is furious, the original demon sect will definitely take action and destroy our Dao section now, our Dao sect is in danger. Qin Wanyu, you are the cause of this matter. For the sake of everyone in our Dao sect, you should set off immediately and go to the original demon sect to apologize. No matter what, no matter how they treat you, you must appease the anger of the demon sect and protect our Dao sect." These words finally made Suliang completely angry. As the elders of the sect, you have a high position and enjoy the various resources in the section. You are really majestic. Suliang showed a mocking and disdainful smile, but while enjoying so many benefits, he didn't think about how to maintain the reputation of the sect and protect the disciples of the section. Now that something like this happened, he turned right and wrong and turned everything upside down. All the blame is placed on one disciple. What kind of elders do you think you are? How can this Yin-Yang Dao sect be worthy of becoming a Dao sect? Oh, you want to judge me? Get it clear, now, I should be the one judging you. The words fell. The true energy in Suliang's body flowed rapidly, and actually rushed to his neck, directly activating the protective means given to him by Wan Cheng. Protecting yourself and protecting yourself not only protects yourself, but also protects your own people. This kind of trump card should be used when it is time to use it, and now, in Suliang's view, it is already the time to use it. And at the moment Suliang activated his protective means. Buzz. With a buzzing sound, Suliang's aura suddenly increased. A majestic and invincible temperament suddenly spread from Suliang. It made people frightened and trembling, and they did not dare to say a word. At this moment, he has actually restored the demeanor of the Qing Emperor in the past. Facing Suliang at this moment, no matter who he is like facing the Qing Emperor in the past. He only has fear and reverence in his heart, but he does not dare to do anything against him. The idea arises. Seeing Suliang like this, all the elders felt their knees weaken and almost fell to their knees in front of Suliang. But then, when they woke up, they were all shocked and angry. They looked at Suliang. Although they were still fearful, Some people still had the courage to yell, "Huh, young man, don't be too arrogant. You are just entering immortality for the first time, do you think you can scare us by pretending that your strength has greatly increased?" However, Suliang completely ignored the clamoring elders and simply said, "Judgment." With these two words spoken, the kingly trial began, and an inexplicable coercion flowed out of Suliang, covering all the elders present. At this moment, the elders had an inexplicable feeling. It seemed that as long as Suliang said they were guilty, they were really guilty. Regardless of right or wrong, regardless of reasons, you sacrifice your own disciples just to please others, and even, in the name of the so-called overall situation, you bully and persecute your disciples with righteousness. You so-called elders are really pedantic, shameless, and hypocritical. Extremely great. Today, I will suppress you pedantic people and restore a peaceful world to the Yin-Yang Dao section. After hearing this, an elder immediately became angry, pointed at Suliang and cursed angrily, "You are a little kid, how dare you speak so shamelessly? Humph, we are just doing good for Dao Zone and have righteousness. As disciples of Dao Zone, we should putting the overall situation first, what can you do to us? Noisy." Suliang said lightly, stretched out his hand, looked at the elder who shouted the most happily, and then shook it suddenly. Boom! After a roar, a shadow of a giant hand appeared around the elder. The shadow moved in unison with Suliang, opened his hand, and suddenly pinched the elder in his hand. Accompanied by bursts of crackling sounds, the elder's muscles and bones were broken, and he screamed repeatedly, but he had no strength to struggle at all. Squeezing the most joyful elder who screamed with his bare hands, the combat power Suliang displayed at this moment was extremely terrifying. This moment, everyone present fell silent, looking at Suliang with a calm and indifferent expression in astonishment. They were all frightened by Suliang's ferocious power. For a moment, they didn't know how to react. But only for a moment. Then an elder came to his senses, pointed at Suliang, and shouted angrily, "Suliang, how dare you do this?" Immediately, the elder looked at the people around him and said, "Everyone, no matter how strong this kid is, he is only one person. If we swarm him, I don't believe we can't take him down. Say it." The elder took the lead and punched Suliang. Following this elder's actions, the other elders also woke up. After looking at each other, they all rushed forward to fight Suliang together. But soon, the elders were shocked to find that all of them together could not defeat Suliang at all. Now, they could only hold them back. As long as they had the slightest flaw exposed, they would be defeated by Suliang with one move. This is what to do? How did this kid become so strong? Everyone, don't be afraid. The elder who took the lead just now shouted again, "This kid is so fierce. He must have used some overdraft trump card. He definitely won't last long. As long as we hold him back until his secret technique fails, we will win." After hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Yes, a kid who has just entered immortality must have used some secret method to become so powerful. In this case, just wait for someone to hold him back. Thinking in their hearts, the elders' actions became slippery, almost no contact with Suliang, they were all trying to delay time. And just when the battle was in full swing, a voice suddenly sounded, "Stop it." Immediately afterwards, a figure wrapped in a robe, revealing a pair of red gold eyes, appeared in front of everyone. It's Dong Huang. After all, Dong Huang is the leader of Yin-Yang Dao section. The elders did not dare to disobey what she said, so they all took this opportunity to take a step back, withdraw from the battle, and stop. Suliang, on the other hand, took advantage of the situation and stood aside, looking at Dong Huang. After all, he was now on someone else's territory and had received favors from Dong Huang, so it was nothing to give her face. Standing between Suliang and a group of elders, Dong Huang suggested in a calm voice, I already know the reason for your fight. In this case, why don't you each take a step back, shake hands and make peace, just like today, it didn't happen, so what? Listening to Dong Huang's words, both the elders and Suliang were all stunned for a moment. Dong Huang actually took the initiative to start smoothing things over? It stands to reason that as elders, they should listen to the words of their sect leader. However, some elders still started to feel nervous. Seeing their sect leader appear, their attitude became hardened. They stiffened their necks and asked, Sect Master, how can you argue with this kid? Shake hands and make peace. Today, this boy first killed the young master of the original demon sect, and then killed many elders. If we shake hands with him and make peace, will all these people die in vain? Before Dong Huang could speak, before his power dissipated, Soviet Union raised his eyes, glanced at the elder lightly, and then struck out with a palm in the air. Volume 1 Chapter 266 A Land of 10 Deaths and No Life. Reappearance of the Queen. If you still dare to make noise, I'll hit you seriously first and then I'll do it. Boom. There was a dull sound, and the elder who spoke before, under Suliang's unexpected palm, immediately vomited blood and flew backwards. Seeing that he could not even stand up, he ended up seriously injured. To this, Dong Huang just glanced over there and said nothing. Seeing that their sect leader had such an attitude, everyone present shut their mouths. If you don't shut up, someone will really die. Seeing that all the elders were silent, Dong Huang nodded slightly, and then said, although you have shaken hands and made peace, after all, you have fought and made mistakes. In this case, you should some punishment is. After hearing this, all the elders were speechless. Sect Master, how did you see that we have shaken hands and made peace? If you hadn't gone astray, we would have still condemned this kid, okay. But Suliang had no objection to Dong Huang's words and just asked, how do you want to punish him? Following Suliang's words, Dong Huang took a few steps forward, as if he was thinking. But after a few steps, Dong Huang suddenly stopped, turned around, looked at Suliang and the elders, why don't we just do it, how about you send them to the demon-suppressing tomb together? After hearing this, all the elders immediately changed their expressions and said in unison, Sect Master, you can't. The so-called demon-suppressing tomb is a famous place of death and no life within the Yin-Yang Dao section. Many beings who are more powerful than them have never been able to come back wherever they go. It can be said that that place is the forbidden place where everyone in the Dao sect will change their color after hearing about it, the Jedi place. In the past, it was not that no one from the Dao sect was sent to the demon suppression mausoleum, but those people were those who had committed serious mistakes and were determined to be executed. Instead, they were sent to the demon suppression mausoleum by members of the province. The reason why the demon suppressing tomb has become such a terrifying place is because there is a blocked entrance to a foreign land, and the evil spirits that exist within are terrifying. Normally, just approaching there will make people have a feeling of accelerated heartbeat and danger approaching. With such an abnormality, who would dare to go forward? To be honest, all the elders present had never been there before, they were just afraid of death. At this time, all the elders looked at their sect leader with a grimace, not knowing what Dong Huang meant. In their opinion, although they did have a fight with Suliang, it was only for the good of the section. Even if they were wrong, it would be fine if they were all in the Big 50, so why would they send themselves there to die? It's not necessary. He didn't die in Suliang's hands, but was forced to die by his own sect master in the end. What a big deal. Looking at this scene, Suliang on the side showed contempt. Of course, he didn't know what the so-called demon-suppressing tomb was, but looking at the reactions of these elders, he knew clearly that there was definitely something terrifying there. Maybe, if you go there, you will die but not live. But so what? The so-called death place, the desperate place, What is there that can't be reached? It's just to find a glimmer of hope in the inevitable fate. It's too simple and boring. You don't dare to go. Suliang looked disdainful and mocked these elders mercilessly. Cowards. With this little courage, you still dare to call yourself an elder. If I were you, I should have killed myself in shame. Why should I continue to occupy this position, seek fame and reputation, and bring shame on myself? Facing Suliang's ridicule, the elders remained silent for fear that Suliang would slap them again in front of the sect leader. But in their hearts, they continued to criticize Suliang. Humph, you are an outsider, what do you know, yet you dare to ridicule randomly. The demon-suppressing tomb is such a terrifying and dangerous place. Once you enter, there will be no life or death. Who dares to go there? Let's see if you dare to be so arrogant after knowing the truth. However, what Suliang said next made them all stunned. I saw. Suliang still looked disdainful, turned around and looked at Dong Huang. Since they don't dare to go, then I will go alone. Although I don't know what dangers there are in that place, but judging from the reactions of those cowards, the demon-suppressing tomb must be a place of death and no life. So, if I come back, this matter will be wiped out. It's a deal. Dong Huang nodded and agreed. Seeing Suliang decisively agreeing to go to the demon-suppressing tomb, someone wanted to speak, but when he opened his mouth, he could not refute. No one wants to die. So, in such a cruel place, you Suliang are willing to go to die, just go by yourself, don't take us with you. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 290. When everyone dispersed and Dong Huang left, Qin Wanyu immediately stepped forward, hugged Suliang, and said with reluctance, "Husband, please don't go, okay? There are forbidden demons in the demon-suppressing tomb at the entrance to a foreign land. The evil spirits inside are so terrifying that even those seniors who have broken through the realm of immortality have not been able to come back alive from it. Husband, if you go, I'm afraid you'll have to face a dangerous murderous intention. This is simply sending yourself to death. Otherwise, my husband should take my concubine and leave. As long as he returns to Daxia and finds Master Wan Xing, the sect leader will definitely not dare to force someone. Husband, you don't have to estimate my body. My body, mind, and body all belong to my husband. Wherever my husband goes, my body will go." However, faced with Qin Wanyu's worry and reluctance, Suliang shook his head. In this case, you will eventually become a traitor to the clan and suffer ridicule. I will also be regarded by those pedantic elders as a timid waste who can only run away. In this case, my Taoist heart will not be stable. So, even if it is possible to leave directly, it would be too irresponsible for me and you. I will not choose this path. It is just a demon-suppressing mausoleum. I, Suliang, can go there, and what can be done? And, I don't think there may be any danger in the demon-suppressing tomb. Suliang said, recalling Dong Huang's words and deeds just now. Didn't you realize that whether he showed up in time to stop the fight, or he deflected and allowed me to seriously injure the elder, Dong Huang's words and deeds just now were obviously helping. In order to help me, she didn't hesitate to offend the elders. If she did this, there would be no reason to send me into a desperate situation. So, this so-called death, I'm afraid there is something different about it. Maybe it will be a good thing. This. After blinking, Qin Wanyu seemed a little confused about where her king's confidence lies. However, now that her own king has made up her mind, no matter how reluctant or worried she is, she will not stand in the way. This matter happened because of me. If the king really died in the demon-suppressing tomb, I would have followed the king at the worst. Since this life is too short to stay with the king forever, then I will stay with the king in the next life and eternity. Thinking in her mind, Qin Wanyu bit her red lips with her teeth and looked at Suliang with moist eyes. After a moment, she suddenly tiptoed up and kissed Suliang's lips gently. "Your Majesty, have a safe journey, be careful, I will take care of you in the sect, I have been waiting for the king to come back." "Good." Suliang nodded, patted Qin Wanyu's little head, then flew into the sky, following the direction and location given by Dong Huang, all the way to the demon-suppressing tomb. A place of death and no life? Even though everyone in the world is frightened and trembling, I, Suliang, will go out alone. Walking into the demon-suppressing tomb, Suliang immediately felt an extreme pressure and fear. This feeling is as if the air is thickened, making it difficult to walk, and even breathing is subconsciously unsmooth. Although it was incomparable to the pressure and fear he felt when he met the Queen of the Abyss before, Suliang quickly decided that no matter what was suppressed here, in short, it was an existence of great importance. No wonder those elders don't want to come over. Suli whispered to himself, beings that can exude such terrifying coercion all the time are definitely not comparable to those Dao sect elders. For them to come to this demon-suppressing tomb is indeed a dead end. As long as the suppressing beings here want to, if we take action, they may not even have a chance to escape. But then, a new question appeared in Suliang's mind. In this case, why would Dong Huang send himself to this dangerous place where there is no life or death? Even those elders who can't resist if they join forces must be unable to resist just by myself now, right? Seeing how Dong Huang always favored him, it was obvious that he didn't really want him to die. So, where is your way out? With all kinds of questions in his mind, Suliang walked forward quickly, wanting to explore the center of this dangerous place. In the demon-suppressing tomb. Rustle. In the silent and empty wilderness, there was only the sound of Suliang's footsteps on the soil, which only enhanced the dead silence of the environment, bringing an indescribable sense of terror. At this moment, he had arrived at the center of the demon-suppressing tomb. Suddenly, Suliang stopped and looked forward blankly. I saw. In front of Suliang, on the ground, a crack appeared, spanning the front, blocking the way forward. And within that rift, there seems to be a beautiful and enchanting figure, wrapped in iron chains, sitting cross-legged among them. It seems that it is suppressed here. The extremely beautiful and enchanting figure carries boundless murderous intent, and the blood and energy are soaring into the sky, as deep as the sea. Even if it is suppressed, this boundless murderous intent and blood energy has not weakened at all. Instead, it has become more and more pure with the suppression. It's profound. Rakshasa. The evil spirits suppressed in this demon-suppressing mausoleum turned out to be a beautiful and enchanting Rakshasa. And Suliang keenly felt that this Rakshasa had an aura that was very familiar to him. It seems to be similar to the gap in the abyss. Did this Rakshasa come out of the gap in the abyss? Thinking in his mind, Suliang was inexplicably surprised, but he couldn't help but take another step forward. And with Suliang taking such a step forward, Rakshasa let out a sigh, opened his eyes, and looked at Suliang doubtfully. This moment, Suliang felt like he was falling into an ice cave. The boundless murderous intent and blood energy were locked on him with Rakshasa's glance, and they kept attacking, trying to devour Suliang completely. If a person is not strong-willed, he may be eaten away by the murderous intention and blood energy of Rakshasa at just one glance. Even if he does not die, he will still scream stupidly. But this murderous intention and blood energy only existed for a moment. The next moment, Rakshasa pulled the chains on his body and appeared in front of Suliang unexpectedly, looking at Suliang curiously. Buzz. A buzzing sound swept through his mind, and Suliang was startled, and almost took action against this Rakshasa. Suliang was still wondering before. Since this Rakshasa was sealed in this foreign passage, wouldn't it be safe as long as he entered the demon-suppressing tomb but didn't get close to the passage? But now it seems that I have simply thought wrong. This Rakshasa can clearly come out of the foreign passage, but he can't get out of the demon-suppressing tomb. Why do I feel the queen's aura from you? The Rakshasa girl stared at Suliang closely, tilted her head and asked curiously. Although she has murderous intent, such a beautiful face and such cute actions will make people feel excited. You must have sensed something wrong, right? Suliang answered carefully. Never will. The Rakshasa girl looked away. Although I have been sealed and suppressed here for countless years, I can still distinguish the queen's aura. Immediately afterwards, before Suliang could react, the Rakshasa girl knelt down on one knee and bowed respectfully to Suliang. Since you have the aura of the queen, you must be related to the queen. If you are related to the queen, you are qualified. Get my respect. Abyss Rakshasa, hello sir. Seeing the beautiful and enchanting Rakshasa girl kneeling in front of him, showing respect to him, Suliang was confused for a moment, and then hurriedly said, "Get up, get up." Immediately, when the Rakshasa girl stood up, Suliang asked in confusion, "Why do you think that I have a relationship with your queen when you feel your queen's aura?" The Rakshasa girl said matter-of-factly and confidently, "The queen will never do anything unreasonable, and therefore, the queen will never leave her breath on you for no reason. If so, it means, you mean so much to her." Hearing this, Suliang became even more confused. "Are you important to the queen? Are you kidding me? I'm so powerful, why didn't I know? I don't even know who that queen is." At this moment, Suliang was very puzzled as to the origin of this so-called queen. "What is your background, queen?" Suliang asked subconsciously. The Rakshasa girl gave Suliang a strange look. Didn't the queen reveal her identity to Sir? In this case, the queen must have her reasons. How dare I, a little Rakshasa, reveal it at will? After hearing this, Suliang looked at the sky a little melancholy, and thought, it seemed that there was nothing more he could ask from this Rakshasa woman. It's better to investigate it carefully after you go back. Now that I have been to the demon-suppressing tomb and met you, my punishment should be considered completed. Suliang murmured to himself, then looked up at the Rakshasa girl and said uncertainly, "Then, I'm leaving." Volume 1 Chapter 267 The increasingly mysterious Dong Huang and the teachings of the Queen Mother. "Please sir." The Rakshasa girl bowed to Suliang again. "Sir is someone the queen values. He can come and go as he pleases here." Hearing this, Suliang smacked his lips. No matter who this queen of the abyss is, her name is quite useful. Then, Suliang was let go by the Rakshasa girl smoothly, and the Rakshasa girl returned to the foreign passage to guard this place. After walking out of the demon-suppressing tomb, Suliang started walking towards the Yin-Yang Dao sect without looking back. Yin-Yang Taoism. He's really back. Dong Huang and a group of elders gathered together and looked at Suliang, who had returned safely. They were filled with shock. His mouth grew so big that he couldn't close it for a long time, and even almost dislocated it. Since they joined the Yin-Yang Dao sect and even reached the position of elder, this was the first time they saw someone enter the demon-suppressing tomb and return safely. In their opinion, this kind of miraculous feat might only be possible by the Taoist master. But Suliang, a mere immortal, was able to travel back and forth to the demon tomb safely. How is this possible? Why on earth is he? This almost impossible event was enough to shock the entire audience. Now that Suliang has returned safely, the past has been wiped out. Looking at the person standing in front of her, Dong Huang said calmly, but then she turned to the elders and ordered, "Since Suliang can return safely from the demon-suppressing tomb, it means that he must have merit. Therefore, I would like to treat Suliang as a distinguished guest of our Dao section. What do you think?" After hearing this, all the elders looked at each other and all raised their hands and said, "We have no objection." There was no way, no matter how strong Suliang's cultivation was, no matter whether they had any grudge against Suliang, in the end, Suliang went to the place they didn't dare to go, and Suliang returned safely to the place they couldn't come back from. This was very rigid, forcing him and the others to submit without any reason to refuse. But seeing Deng Huang's order coming down, Suliang couldn't help but become suspicious. From the time when Deng Huang tried to sidestep him, to how he later arranged for him to go to the so-called place where he must die, and now when he regards himself as a guest of the Taoist sect without hesitation, I always felt that everything was in Deng Huang's plan.